Are you tired of watching shows that only give you general social media theory and expect you to figure out how to apply it to your own industry? Join us for this week's episode of Social Chatter, the industry's longest running social media marketing news talk show. Not only will you learn the latest breaking news, but you'll also gain practical advice on how to apply it. Now here's your host, Christian Karasevich.
Welcome everyone to Social Chatter, your weekly social media marketing news talk show. This is episode 339. This week, we're going to be talking about LinkedIn career breaks, a new feature from LinkedIn that I think it's a kind of about time actually that somebody came out with something like this. It's always been sort of taboo, I think, when you've talked about gaps in employment and things like that. And so we're excited to talk about that, myself and my co-host, Sarah Monroe, with this week's guest. But I'm going to go bring on Sarah and have her introduce our guest. Sarah, how you doing?
I'm great. And yes, LinkedIn news is perfect timing for us to have our guest, Judi Fox, Fox Rocks, coming in. She is a LinkedIn expert. She is a main stage speaker. She's a writer, a blogger, all the great things about using LinkedIn for personal branding and small business and entrepreneurship. So let's just bring her right in. Judi, how did I do introducing you?
That was perfect. I'm the one that needs to unmute.
Oh, that's great. That's great. So thanks for coming back. We saw you a few months ago, and in between you've been on stage at Social Media Marketing World, and I know you're going to Lima and all kinds of places.
Yes. And you both know I can talk your ear off, everything LinkedIn, plus all the social media. So glad to be here and offer whatever Fox fun facts I can give you.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So let's jump into it.
So what's up first, Sarah? What do we have first this week?
So first, we're going to jump into LinkedIn news. And this actually was news that was announced the beginning of March, but it's getting a lot more play now. There was a great article last week in the Washington Post about this. LinkedIn has offered a new feature called career breaks. And so if we think back, especially the last 2 years, but really over the last 10 years, I would say more and more professionals have career breaks, some of it by choice, some of it not by choice. We're seeing many more millennials and Gen Zers who are taking gap years or taking a break to reset themselves. And so career breaks are much more normalized. In fact, LinkedIn did some research and found that more than 60% of members have had a career break. And we think back to the last 2 years when 54 million women around the world had a forced career break because of the pandemic. In the US, there's still about 872,000 women who haven't re-entered the workforce. And those are women that we know of. This isn't counting women who may have had side hustles and gig economy jobs that just weren't tracked. So LinkedIn is creating this new piece where you can add career breaks as an option. And there's 13 different categories that you can choose to explain the career break. And again, getting back into some of this data, which I think is really interesting, LinkedIn did talk to the folks who have had career breaks, and 56% of them said that they built skills during that time. And I have to say, there was a time where I had a career break too. I learned email marketing, and now email marketing is part of my business. It's something that I do every single week. And I learned it when I had a career break. So this is also, we're seeing also on the hiring manager side, the LinkedIn survey found that 51% of hiring managers are more likely to call people if they have some kind of context. So there's some real data, some real responses from people who are in the field, either as job seekers or job hiring people, that these things are data driven and can support your job applications. So as LinkedIn said, I'm going to read a quote because I thought it was great. Off resume experience gets to the heart of your passions, gifts, and strengths. And we've seen this when they've put in the volunteer modules as well. For one, I learned a lot when I was a volunteer. I learned budgeting, I learned project management. A lot of people do that and get jobs out of their volunteer experience. So LinkedIn career breaks. They're also offering some LinkedIn learning modules for free to help you use this. And I'm going to open it up to you two. I think it's a fantastic feature on LinkedIn. What do you two think?
So, Sarah, before we do that, let me actually put this full screen so people can see this.
Yeah.
I didn't want to cut you off there when you were talking about it, but basically it's adding this whole section to your LinkedIn profile.
Yep. You add it just like a professional experience.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And
you can choose.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yep. You can choose the time frame. You can put in a little bit of a description. And like I said, there's 13 different categories. So it can be a caregiving category. It could be just different ways you want to explain that break in your experience.
Definitely. Yeah. And so Judi, what do you think about this?
Yeah, I love that they're wanting to say, we're going to normalize career breaks. They belong in your experience section, which I think is a cultural shift from the, hey, we're here. We don't want to have career breaks ever on our resume, all the way to they now belong on your experience section because we're literally giving you a space for it. And I really love that. Like, I think that's really smart.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely. And I like how easy it is to add all of this. I think also this weaves into that whole aspect of storytelling, which I think we'll probably talk about later on, the importance of storytelling. And this is the same thing. Like, you've been in a job, and then let's say you have that gap, like people, I did find it a little surprising, I guess, that some people said, hey, you know what, if people have gaps in their career, they immediately got, they basically got removed from, that job they applied for example. But I think overall, I think that it's good to have this there, and that, again, it's also on you to tell the story. Like, don't be afraid to tell the story about why you have that career gap. Maybe you have, for example, maybe you had a child, for example, or maybe, you had to go care for, a family member, and that.
Yeah.
Right.
I was going to say that the way that you utilize it, and I always think of what you focus on expands. So I don't think you want to put so much focus on this career break that you make it this huge piece that's very filled in to the nth degree on your profile. I think it should be a concise, kind of almost like it's a non-event. It shouldn't really matter. Career breaks should not matter. Now in this world, in this economy, with the gig economy, being a creator, everything that you can do online, you can get contract work, part-time contract work that keeps up your skills. You can take LinkedIn learning courses. You could go back to an in-person schooling environment. There's so many ways that we're more than just sitting in a seat in a cubicle. And I think we all learned that throughout the pandemic. So yeah, I love that it's easy. And I want to give a shout out to a good person, somebody that I've seen implement this really well. Her name is Sweta Regmi. It's Regmi, Sweta, Sweta. And the reason I'm pointing hers out is because she did it almost perfectly. She used it in a concise way. She got laid off and talks about how she got laid off over the phone. She backpacked, she traveled and volunteered. And she ended up writing a post that was a lessons learned post and featured it. So that way she could explain herself further for anyone that wanted to go further with her description of her career break, but she also kept it as a short section on her experience section.
Fantastic. And I'm going to put a link. I think I've got this. I think I've got her LinkedIn profile pulled up.
Yeah. She got featured by LinkedIn because coming from the place of let's normalize career breaks. And I love that. I think if that's the only thing anyone takes away today is we are in the process, and LinkedIn is in the process of normalizing career breaks.
Right. Right. And that Washington Post article too, we'll put that in the blog post that follows the show. The Washington Post article has some great interviews with people who shared what their career breaks were and how they're approaching it too. I took a break. I took a break to raise a child. I took a break because the pandemic was overwhelming. I took a break to homeschool my little ones, and imagine all of the skills that parents and caregivers have learned that
Yeah.
we do every week with live streaming, right? The skills, the really marketable skills that you learn if you were managing online learning.
I was going
Definitely.
to mention one thing before this career break existed, and that is a career break calling right now. I'm just kidding. um, before, no, actually, that's somebody saying, "Judi, don't bring this up." I didn't have this option. So I just want to give somebody a perspective from myself who, before this career break, I took a career break to have a child, to move international with my husband at the time. And all the skills that I would learn during that time, I started a blog. I actually went viral for the first time and got to over 7,000 shares with a post. So many freaking skills.
Mhm.
But like the past, it wasn't seen as, oh, you just were taking time off. I was like, I was doing amazing things. So the
Right.
way I featured and put an experience section was I just did a DBA, doing business as Judi Fox.
Mhm.
And that became really easy to anyone out there. You can do business in your name if you just have a short break and you want to position yourself a little stronger than listing yourself as a career break.
Mhm. Right. Right. That self-employed, there is that self-employed category, right? And
Yes.
so many people are doing that. You know, you may not have registered a business name, but you are certainly doing the contract work through those
Mhm.
breaks. So I started my consultancy because a friend asked me to help out on a project. And I was like, all right, I've got time. So that's that's started my business, was that freelance grant writing. So yeah, it's a great way to show that you have gained experience, or you have enriched yourself and been thoughtful about that break.
So we can start a hashtag movement right now called hashtag eliminate the gap. We're done.
Eliminate
We're
the
done
gap.
with the gap. There's never a gap anymore.
Yeah. Yep. Yep.
And I,
Always be learning, right? Always be
Yes,
learning.
exactly.
So,
There's no gap in you being an amazing person and being able to bring value to this world.
mhm.
and one thing I want to add real quick, by the way, Sarah, you mentioned LinkedIn Learning, and Judi, I think you mentioned LinkedIn Learning as well. We learned this, I think it was last week. If you have, was it last week, Sarah? I think it was, right? Or was it the
Yeah, it
week
was
before?
with Beth Granger.
So if you happen to have a library card, by the way, you can get free access to LinkedIn Learning. There's a library portal basically you sign up through, take your library card, put it in, and you get full access to LinkedIn Learning. So
Mhm. Yeah.
awesome stuff. So
So we should say we've tested this with our local libraries. So maybe not all local libraries, but we have tested some local libraries in the Northeast. And I don't remember where Beth is based, but she said a lot of libraries near her too are also using it.
I can confirm I have it as well, by the way, because I did sign up for it right after the show. I was like, definitely working. So very cool. Okay,
Yeah.
so that's the big news, obviously, for the week. What's next, Sarah, in terms of social media
What's
for the week?
next is Instagram news. And there was a bit of a kerfluffle about one item in Adam Mosseri's weekly reel about what's changing on LinkedIn. So let me start first with product tags, because this is something that people are really excited about when it comes to the harder push toward e-commerce on Instagram. So what's rolling out now, they've said everybody, not just US users, but everybody around the world, you should be able to tag products in your feed posts. So again, only feed posts, not stories, not reels, right? Or video. Only feed posts. What you can do is add a product tag. So you can see the little steps to here. You can click on the picture and tag it like you normally would with that brand name, and then you can search through the products, and actually you there is a search bar for the product, and choose the one that you want, and it will tag that product. So let's say that you want to get in front of a brand that you love, if you just want to show the brand that you love them, or if you would like to be considered as maybe a brand ambassador, it's a great way to show your products, their products that you're using, right? So it's a cool little feature. I think we're going to see it more with brands than with the average Instagram user, but certainly those folks who want to have or are representing a brand can certainly make it easier to tag products and shop from the posts. So I know that this is something that Christian's really excited about. I will talk about the other two tags that are happening. The next one is enhanced people tags. We talked about this a few months ago when it was first being tested, but basically when you tag people, you may see an enhanced tag, like a category underneath their name, for instance, photographer or caterer, right? So this is something on the user level, you can choose in editing your profile, you can choose a category that you would like to see. So the example in the middle, you'll see the photographer who's tagged, the model who's tagged, the stylist, right? So that it gives a little more depth to how you identify on Instagram. So it's a cool little feature. Now, the big one that has come up is ranking. And so Instagram wants to add more value to the original content that was posted by a creator or a publisher. So what that means is it's adding more weight to the first person who uses that audio or produces that music or creates that film, so that that ranks higher. And I have to say, I've been seeing it. I've probably been noticing it over the last month. I thought it was because of my user behavior. When I see a reel that is using a popular piece of audio, I'll click on that little audio icon and you'll see the original person who posted it, or the original account, I should say, that posted it, so you can see it. And I just thought it was my behavior, because I always would go to that original content to see that first creator. But now actually Instagram was probably testing it on me before they rolled it out, which they are to do. Sometimes people get these fun little funky things that they can play with before everybody else gets them. But now they are actually talking about it. Adam Osari confirmed that they are going to add more value to the rankings. So rather than if you're creating and publishing that content, you'll get more value versus if you're resharing it. So I just spewed a lot there. I'll open it up to you, Christian and Judi, to see what you think about these new enhanced tags and rankings.
Well, I think the product tagging is going to be important. Again, I mean, I think that I like that they're starting to, like, people should be able to do that, right? Like you should have always been able to tag the products you're using, because, for example, if you're on a live stream, one of the questions we always get every single time, doesn't matter what the topic, people are always like, well, what mic are you using? What camera are you using? Right. Mm-hmm. And so instead, it can detract from the stream you're doing, because, hey, people want to know, you want to answer them, but like, why not just, quickly just tag your product? And I think it also, again, I want to say Pinterest was actually working on this a long time ago, where they were doing like automatic product tagging of things to help, not just to help people learn more about it, but also to help surface other products, related to that. And so I think this is a good move by Instagram to kind of follow along what other people are doing with the product tags. I also like the fact that with people, that they're able to start to put that spotlight on somebody, so it's not just like, oh, hey, it's a celebrity, and they've got a makeup artist there, working with them. Chances are they don't always tell people who the photographer or the makeup artist is, right? And I think that, again, it's sort of that attribution thing. So I think that it's good to give those people that credit, put that spotlight on them, so that, because again, I mean, they're clearly doing some good work if, for example, they're working with an influential person. So Judi, what do you think about these updates?
Yeah, I would just add, you guys have covered everything. I would add that when you can make sales or understanding where somebody bought something much faster and easier, sales goes quicker. So that's number one. And then keeping people kind of on the platform. If you have to leave the platform to go hunt or search or dig a little into where somebody bought something, you might be leaving Instagram or you might not come back. I mean, I know when I open up 30,000 tabs, I'm maybe not going back to Instagram. So yeah, keep people on the platform is probably the mantra of all the platforms.
Right.
Definitely. So, so Sarah, what other news do we have? So, okay, is there any more Instagram news, or is that?
There is one more piece of Instagram news that they've been rolling out over the last couple of weeks, and it's all kind of come together in a recent post that they had on their blog, which is that they're going to make it more easy to share and support social movements. So they are raising awareness for causes. They've chosen a handful of hashtags just to begin with. They actually have quite a few advisors from organizations like GLAAD, the NAACP, Advancing Justice, American Heritage, and Illumi Native to choose some awareness campaigns around I think they're starting with Black Lives Matter, women's rights, climate crisis, a few others, for people to be more easily share these advocacy campaigns and also support the advocacy campaigns. So if you go to the hashtag search page on one of these causes, you'll see a blue support button. And that leads you to two ways that you can show support. One, you can spread the word. You can actually share that Discover page with your friends, followers, whoever, in direct messages. You can also create a fundraiser. And so these fundraiser tools have actually been rolling out, I'd say, over the last 6 weeks. We haven't really had a chance to talk about them on the show, but it is an expansion of the Meta fundraising tools in general. Facebook has had fundraisers for a long time. Instagram, I don't even remember when they first rolled them out. But now this is an expansion to help these campaigns along the way. So I think it's great as a fundraiser myself, personally, but also professionally. I think it's a great way to support different causes. I think you should have a critical eye with this. It's a great from a user experience and sharing your campaigns and raising funds, but know that you won't get a lot of donor data if you want to, say, build your email list or build your donor database, because the rules for Meta fundraising still apply. You can see the name. You can probably reach out to that donor through Messenger or through WhatsApp or IG Messenger to thank them, but you won't get their contact information unless they expressly give it to you. So Meta won't give you that information, but it's certainly a great way to raise awareness for causes and raise some money on the platform. So that's the next piece of Instagram news. So what do you guys think of that?
I'll just say, I was just going to say, I know how much I feel like I want to support causes. And when they make it easier, it feels better from the user experience. So you are correct. Your friends, your family, your colleagues, they want to support causes. But if you make it hard for them to support causes, then they don't happen. So I like... Again, Instagram's headed in the right direction. So you guys are the Instagram experts here.
I wouldn't go that far.
I would go that far.
I'm still thinking, where's that button? Where did that thing go? Right? Is this reel really good enough to post?
It is. Post the reel.
So Sarah,
yeah.
I want to throw it back to you because I know we want to make sure we spend a lot of time with Judi as well, because we have some great questions that we want to talk to her about. So we've got that Instagram news. We got that LinkedIn news. Do we have any other social media news for the week?
Yeah. So we've got a lightning round of 3 different topics. So the first one is Snap. They're going to add some new augmented reality features. They have teamed up with the Los Angeles County Museum of Art, referring to my notes here because I want to make sure I get the words right. And it's kind of a cross between a traditional museum experience, yet with augmented reality and snap creators and Los Angeles based artists. It's a very cool thing to check out. It's basically to encourage more engagement with art, history, social justice. So they're working with different artists that have these images that you can see through Snap camera and apply to wherever you are and explore this. So definitely check that out. We'll have the link in the show notes in our blog as we go forward, and you can check that out. Another piece is WhatsApp is building out more features for their communities. They're adding file sharing, emojis, reactions, group calling. So something cool there on WhatsApp. And then Clubhouse has launched dark mode. So for those of you who like to be on Clubhouse, you'll be able to have less white screen in your eyes if you're on your phone at night, right? Which let's face it, a lot of us are. They're also testing game rooms, which I think is going to be interesting. They're starting with a card game to encourage conversation and just have a little bit more fun on the platform. So those are the three lightning round pieces.
I got to say, out of those, I think the WhatsApp communities is probably the most interesting one to me. The Snap art experience is great that you can put art in some various places using lenses. I love what Snap has always been doing with the camera, but I think the WhatsApp communities is going to be really big. I think at some point, because a lot of people, especially overseas, they use WhatsApp. So I think that's going to be a very useful tool down the road, I think, because we'll see that also probably come to WhatsApp Business as well. Judi, anything else you want to add on any of those topics?
I'm still a big fan of Clubhouse. I guess the dark mode doesn't really affect me because I don't know if I'm just Gen X and I don't know the excitement of dark mode. I don't know. Is that just me? Is anyone else relating to how excited some people get about dark mode? And I'm just like, that's just another color to me.
Yeah.
I don't get it.
Again, I'm in my 40s and I'm starting to do that thing where you have to look and do stuff like that. So yes, the thing about Clubhouse that I keep telling everybody is I now just, at this point, I use Clubhouse as an event space. It's another place to go live to and give people a link. We could be live on Clubhouse right now. That's how I think of Clubhouse, less about I need to run a room and I need to be visible in the hallway, and more about it's a destination. I can give people a link to come listen to something. And it's a replay now. You can treat it like a podcast and a replay live, just like this one.
Mm-hmm.
And speaking of Clubhouse, we could be streaming to Clubhouse as well, except we chose Twitter Spaces because Twitter Spaces obviously has a different type of product, and I'd have to have multiple phones running to be able to do that.
Oh, I could have been doing it this whole time. I had no idea.
Yes, we are in Twitter Spaces. So very cool. Well, I want to make sure we spend enough time talking with Judi, because I know, Sarah, we had some great questions teed up for Judi, right?
We do. And so jumping into the Q&A with Judi, we just talked a lot about the freelance work with using career breaks and consultancy and things like that. So Judi, you really are keyed into all of the recent changes to LinkedIn profiles and a lot of the features. You're a beta tester for LinkedIn audio rooms, right? I can't remember when you launched your LinkedIn newsletter, but I've certainly seen it a lot. So can you talk about some of the recent updates to profiles and how people can take advantage of them? If they're personal brands, if they're small business owners, what's happening? A lot's happened really in the last 4 months, and we'll just give you the stage to talk about it.
Yeah. So first, I'll mention the profile updates that LinkedIn has made. The first one is with creator mode. You can turn it on your profile. And now when you upload that 30-second video that goes in your profile circle section, you not only get that visible in the news feed, that will be a circle that people can click on when they're in the news feed scrolling, and there will be a special circle around your face the next thing you want to realize is it's going to send a notification to your entire audience. So the reason why that's powerful is anytime that you can get visibility from LinkedIn doing the heavy lifting and saying, hey, notice this, do this, take action, check out Judi's new profile video that's 30 seconds long. You can say a lot in 30 seconds. I don't know about you, but I can say a lot in 30 seconds. The next thing is the bell on the profile. LinkedIn has a way now to turn on notifications for anyone that you want to see every post or their popular posts when they make them. So again, how do you outlast the algorithm? How do you create energy on your profile, on your strategy on LinkedIn that basically says, you know what, I don't have to worry about the algorithm anymore. And the bell and any type of feature that sends notifications, and that can kind of help you outlast the algorithm. And the last one that I am telling people to take advantage of is LinkedIn newsletters. Your user experience of receiving tons of newsletters or all of that energy around newsletters, it's definitely the people that will last and keep going are the people that are going to win. So take advantage of it. Don't worry about yourself. Put your blinders on and do the newsletters because they send notifications. They're SEO searchable on Google, and they're getting higher and higher ranking and visibility. And it's blowing my mind how much people can gain traction on their LinkedIn newsletters.
I love that. So let me ask you a question.
I hit you with a lot.
Yeah, you did hit us with a lot. So let's dive into that last point, the Google search of your LinkedIn newsletters. And as I recall, LinkedIn articles are the same, are searchable. They get indexed on Google as well.
Yeah,
correct?
the way I like to visualize it for people, and I don't know if this is a good visual, you'll all have to tell me what you think about my analogy here, but it's like you're building a train. Choo-choo. So you have the engine. The engine is technically the newsletter. LinkedIn's doing all the engine work to distribute the newsletter, tell people you just uploaded a new announcement to your newsletter. It's the engine. It's not the content. It's the engine. It's the machine. Then all the train cars are your knowledge. It's your articles. So you just keep attaching a new article to your newsletter. So does that make sense to everybody? Okay, good. And then there is a caboose when you post. You can always make a post, and I'm like, that's a little caboose, little punch in the news feed.
I love that. I love it. So what about
complete the train analogy?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And the conductor is you, right?
Oh, choo-choo. Yeah, again, yes. Leaning into that analogy.
Hey, lean right into it. So for those who know about duplicate content on Google, right? Google doesn't like duplicate content. Like if we take a blog post from Social Chefs and maybe put it onto one of our own personal websites and do it verbatim, Google is like, hey, wait a second. We saw all of this content on Social Chefs first. And now we're going to ding your site because you are essentially plagiarizing someone else. So they prefer it to be about 30%. It has to be about 30% different. Now, what about LinkedIn when it comes to that? LinkedIn articles and newsletters. In the past, there hasn't been dings. Like if you reproduce a blog post into your LinkedIn article, there hasn't been any consequences on Google. Do you know if that's still the case?
I don't 100% know, but I do follow, again, I'm going to give another shout out to Andy Crestodina. Do you know who? Okay.
Yep.
And he has a very successful newsletter that is called, I think it's just called Digital Marketing. And the reason what I noticed that they do is they kind of take the executive summary part of their blog post. They'll post maybe the juiciest pieces, some of the assets, the visuals, the things that we can understand what this whole article is going to be about. And then they say to read the rest, go to the blog post on our website. So I guess it's allowing not just the full copy and paste of the or the blog post on their website.
Great. Now let's stick with newsletters. Do you have more tips? I'm sure you have lots and lots and lots of tips about newsletters, but
Oh my
can
goodness.
you give us like three tips about getting access to newsletters, getting them in front of your subscribers, all of that?
Yes. So tip number one, the way to get access to newsletters is turn on creator mode. Follow the creator mode directions. Sometimes people will say, I turned it on, but I didn't get access. There's a few other things LinkedIn will say, hey, you haven't made a post in the last 90 days, or there's other criteria. So follow whatever directions creator mode gives you when you log into your account, your LinkedIn account. Turn on creator mode. The next thing is when you launch your newsletter, name it something that is very clear. Clarity will always win out over cleverness when it comes to the newsletter engine. We want to know what station we're going from and what station we're going to. Now I'm really leaning into the train traveling analogy. We don't need clever descriptions for cities. We just want to know the name of the city. So that's why Andy's newsletter, Digital Marketing, is so clear. I think he has double the following of the newsletter subscribers than his own followers, because it is so clear that it's gone beyond him and it's so visible to the world and beyond on LinkedIn. And then the last thing is you want to create a pattern. So we talk about having consistent patterns, and it goes beyond just, okay, you're going to do it weekly or monthly. It's more about how do you deliver your knowledge, and can I come to expect certain things in your newsletter? So I don't know if that makes sense, but it creates brand recognition, trust in more subscribers, and getting people to click the start of your newsletter to read it.
Good stuff.
No, we always talk about consistency on social media, right? So that people recognize what you're known for and appreciate the relevant information that you're sharing, right? And look forward to it. That's the best part, right? I know that I'm going to get these great tips from Judi Fox, and I'm looking forward to it, right?
Yes, I will say, and I know Christian's got something, but I want to just jab in there that the ability to embed content is really powerful. So you only get it when you do a post on LinkedIn. You have to choose. You have to choose if you want it to come with a video or if you want it to be a carousel type post. You have to make a choice, and you only get one choice. It's a post. But on a LinkedIn newsletter article, you can embed a podcast that can play right there, and they don't even have to leave the platform. You can embed a YouTube video. They can play it right there inside the LinkedIn article, and they don't have to leave the platform. And I did that on myself. I embedded a YouTube video, and I would say it rose by about 10,000 views on the YouTube video in that week because of featuring it on my LinkedIn article newsletter.
So I have a quick question, by the way, about, you talked about naming your newsletter, naming something that's very clear. So for example, if you and I both published a newsletter and we called it digital marketing, does that matter? Should we try to be how do you feel about that? Should we try to have distinct names for a newsletter or?
Yeah. So I ended up finding a resource. I put it on my company page where, his name is Jans, and I'm trying to remember his last name. I'm giving shout outs today. It's like shout out Thursday. But people are amazing, and they've created these, examples that are so great to follow. And that's what I do. I try to follow people doing great examples in the world. So Jans created a entire searchable database of every single LinkedIn newsletter.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Exactly. I will have to send you
we need to get a
link
to that. Yes.
Yeah, we'll find that.
We'll put that in the show notes.
Blows my mind. And that way you can search. You can search for anyone who's named their newsletter digital marketing, see how they positioned it. You do get a description to differentiate yourself. So if you have a different take on digital marketing, you definitely want to do that in the description. But unless it's a trademarked word or somebody has already captured that, it's a free for all at this point.
Nice.
I mean, isn't that how it is online in general?
Yeah. And here's the thing. If you're all doing digital marketing, there's nothing wrong with you having a digital, it's going back to your train example. If you are into digital marketing, everybody has a different angle they might take with it. And so people gravitate towards, certain people that they find, like they might understand the way somebody presents something rather than the way another person presents something. So you both could call your newsletter digital marketing, but they like your version over another version. So
Mhm.
excellent,
Right.
excellent points. So
And there's still room, right? I heard a number, there's a very low percentage of like less than 5% of LinkedIn members are using LinkedIn newsletters. Um, Maybe a little off, but it's certainly well below 10%. So there's plenty of space for people to still have newsletters and get out and maybe get those titles that they want to be known for.
Yeah, I think the last time I checked, Jan's list was, I think he said something like 2,000 plus newsletters to check out their titles and their descriptions, and he, put them all in a compiled database. And if you think about it, if there's about 2,000 plus, I mean, it just blows my mind that I would only be competing with like a couple thousand newsletters and not millions because of how many people are on LinkedIn. So,
Mhm.
yeah, not many
Right.
people understand or are taking advantage of it. And I think it comes down to just not really understanding, or they think it's going to take a ton of time. And
Mhm.
again, I'm putting Andy back in the hot seat in the shout out Thursday, but I don't think his newsletter takes a lot of time. And if you Google his advice about it, that's some of the advice I've been saying to people is if you already have a blog, if you already have a newsletter, grab the top portion of it and then move traffic to your website just like he does.
yeah.
Mhm.
And you just, again, I mean, it's also a process. Like, like being consistent with your newsletter, decide what day of the week you're going to publish it and publish consistently, put it on your calendar.
Yeah,
Got to
build
create
it
this
into your
newsletter. Yeah.
systems.
Right.
And again, build it, like get moving with it. It's the whole thing with the train. Once you get the train moving,
We're
you,
gonna have
you
the
don't
train
just stop
analogy.
the train. If you stop the train,
Yep.
everything's gonna, the cars are gonna run together, all that sort of stuff, right? And
Yes.
so you want to just keep it moving, and you want to just build that momentum with your newsletters as you're getting started. So don't think about like, well, hey, Judy's got this huge audience, and she's already like, miles down the road. There's nothing wrong with that. Everybody
Yes.
starts at different points, and some people have built, they built traction a long time ago, and other people are just getting to it now. But there's plenty of space, as you were mentioning, Sarah, for everyone. So
I like that
Exactly.
you were full steam ahead with my analogy. I'm loving
We're
this.
gonna keep going. Yep, we're gonna keep
Yes.
going.
fantastic. Well,
Exactly.
Sarah, do we have any more topics or anything we want to talk about this week? No,
We
no
do.
tool. The tool is not a train related tool, right?
Yeah, the tool is not really a train, but this has been great. And I would say one final tip is to really follow Judi Fox because she's got fantastic content about how to use LinkedIn. We had a whole page of questions that we could ask for follow up, but I really love the train that you built for us and got it on the tracks. So
Definitely.
so let's move to tool of the week because all three of us use it. We all love it. Lots of other people love it, and it's funny. I am working on a whole new project, and everybody that I'm working with haven't used Calendly, and I am just a big ambassador for Calendly now. It's a fantastic scheduling tool. It's a great way for people to find so you can set up a calendar and just say these are the times that I'm offering just like a 30-minute call, or I want to be able to let my remote team tap me at any time but not interrupt my work so that they can just jump onto my calendar with the time slots that I've chosen for the interruptions. It's one of the main reasons why I use Calendly. But I'm going to open it up to you two too, because you use it as well. It's a fantastic tool. I use the paid version. I think I just have one seat though. I, I have so many good things to say about Calendly. I almost don't know where to start. So I'll let you two jump in with your ideas too.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of it, and I will say Calendly integrates really well on the LinkedIn featured section. So, and it's integrated really well on my link in bio on Instagram. And so if you just start rippling out, it's just a great tool to, if you want to get more sales calls or more connection calls, use a calendar app.
Definitely. And I would echo, the same thing. And I'd say with these calendar apps, set up different calendars. So for example, if you do one-on-one coaching, for example, set up a calendar specifically for that and block out just the certain amounts of time you want available for that. If you have
Mhm.
personal calendar appointments, you can even book them through there, and if you have, other, if you have consulting calls, other things like that, make something else for that that's unique. There's no back and forth. Like, for example, you could do it for this show. We have a show link for this one where we send it to our guest and everybody funnels through with all their questions. So again, you don't have to do the whole back and forth. Well, hey, Judi, when are you available? Hey, Sarah, when are you available? Like
Mhm.
I guarantee you, even though it costs money to get, you maybe use the free version, it costs money once you get started. It saves you a lot of time in the long run. Once you start to use it, I think you're going to really see a lot of the value that exists with tools like this. By the way, so Sarah, we have a question from Bob. Says he has a Calendly question for you. I don't know if you want to take it on air.
Ooh.
Oh, if Bob wants to come on, yeah, sure. I'll say while you do that, I'll say I've actually linked my Calendly with my Zoom account and my Gmail calendar, which is also linked to a couple of other calendars that I use. So when someone takes that spot on Calendly, it automatically creates the Zoom meeting for me and sends it to the people. So, when we think about cost, it costs, I think, $8 or $9 a month or something. I paid for the annual plan, but like $8 or $9 a month for Calendly, that just saved me 20 minutes of time, right? And so how much is your time valuable? And how many times does that happen in a month, right? When you use the Calendly app. So I kind of chose, like I have 2 times a week that I give to people for networking. I have like 8 times a week for a certain project that I'm working on. I've created all these different Calendly apps. So what is Bob's question? Did we get it?
Let's see if it comes through. I haven't.
I was going to say the other two ways that I think of Calendly is you can integrate it with a payment app.
Mhm.
So you can attach, I know I attached PayPal. I don't remember if I've attached Stripe, but I definitely know that you can attach payments to it. So you can process the entire customer journey right through Calendly. And then the second thing is if you're doing connection calls or complimentary introductory 15, maybe 30-minute calls, you can take advantage of the question area to book the call, because if you ask questions, you can actually start getting great market feedback, whether that person hires you or not. You can actually start to find out what are your customer pain points, what problems do they need to solve by the questions that you ask them. And oh my gosh, I need to hire someone just to go through all that and like summarize it, because it's amazing what people have shared. Of course, I'm going to keep it private, but it will help tell me what the world needs more of from me. So,
And we use the same kind of thing for the show. I mean, when we book guests, you get a list of questions that we want to get from you, so we don't have to go back and forth. It also helps us, again, like if we're like, hey, do you want to write for us? We've got all that information, or you have a question or a tool of the week. You help us, we help you as well. So this has been fantastic, just talking about this tool of the week. Bob says, by the way, Sarah, he says the question's a little complicated. He says he'll reach out later. Okay, Bob, no worries. Well, so
Looking forward to it.
Judi,
I'll send you a Calendly link, Bob. You can pick a time.
It's very on topic.
Yeah.
So, Judi, just one last question for you. What's the best place for people to get in touch with you if they want to connect with you?
I do happen to spend a lot of time on LinkedIn, just FYI. I would say that is my address, my LinkedIn address. You picked the perfect spot. The key is just click in the search bar. It's JUDI. That is the key. And if you I wish you could search by emojis on LinkedIn, because I use LinkedIn emojis, but you can also put in the search bar #FoxRocks. The way it's spelled is the correct spelling, #FoxRocks, and you can actually see the news feed. I try to share to my company page if anyone makes a post. So if you learned something today and want to make a post about it, take a screenshot of us right now. You are welcome to do that and make a post about it, and I will find you online and support you. So thank you.
Fantastic. And Sarah, how about you? How can people get in touch with you?
I'm Sarah Monroe VT across social media. And if you connect with me on LinkedIn, drop a note to let me know that you saw me on Social Chatter, and I'm happy to connect.
And I'm Christian Karasevich at Social Chefs across all the social media platforms as well. You can connect with me also on LinkedIn as well. And again, just include a note, just let us know, where you found me. So with that, we'll have a blog post recap going out over the weekend, socialchefs.com/SC339. We'll make sure we get all these great tips that Judi shared into the blog post write up. We're going to be back next Thursday, and I think it's 10 a.m. Sarah with Darren Gibb, I think is our guest. But with that, I want to thank everybody for tuning in. We hope you have a great weekend. And again, be sure, if you have questions or whatever, just reach out. We'd love to hear from you. So with that, thanks a lot for tuning in to Social Chatter, episode 339. Bye, everyone.